mentioning that Mara and Alicia have only come to the fort once, right after their Uncle Terry built it, and that time it was just to see it. They're older, and not into playing outside the way they used to. Anyway, it's true that there are usually a bunch of people at the fort, but today Greta is out of the picture. Burke and his sisters are in the city to watch a movie, and the twins, Dees brothers, are at hockey practice. Sibby's right. Today they'll have the fort to themselves, and who knows when that will happen again. Okay, says Dee. Let's go. They cross the street to Dee's house, then walk 2 doors down to Mrs. Rose's house, because the easiest way to get into the woods is through her backyard. Mrs. Rose doesn't mind. She likes all the kids on their street. She's like a grandma, even though Dee knows she doesn't have any grandchildren of her own. It's the end of March, and still chilly enough for a coat and mittens, but there's a bit of warmth in the breeze, and as Dee follows Sibby through Mrs. Rose's backyard, she notices little points of crocuses poking from the ground and tiny green buds on the shrubs and trees, and she knows that spring is almost here. At the back of Mrs. Rose's garden is a hedge that backs almost all the way up onto the forest. There's a gap they can step through, and soon they're in the narrow strip of grass that separates the neighborhood from the trees. A cloud passes over the sun just as a breeze picks up, and Dee feels a chill run down her spine. Let's go, says Sibby, several steps ahead of Dee. Under the shadow of the cloud, the woods look cold and dark and ominous. Dee wants to tell Sibby that they should just go over to Dee's house and watch a movie or play a game, but she knows it's no use. Sibby has made up her mind. Besides, it will be fun. Sibby's ideas always end up being fun. Sibby turns and walks into the trees. A moment later, Dee follows. 3. What happened to Sibby Carmichael that afternoon in the woods? If anyone should remember, it's me. I was there, after all. But 10 years and a million sleepless nights later, nothing new comes to me. No sudden revelations. No deeply buried memories emerging from a haze. Just the same few fragments, still crisp and clear in my mind, still as useless as they've always been. In the middle of the night, I lie in my bed awake in a sleeping world, a broken record skipping inside of me, the same lines skimming past again and again and again. You could have tried to stop it. Forget that I was only 7. Forget that nobody, not even Sibby's parents, blamed me, a terrified little girl, not for a moment. None of that matters when the record starts skipping. You could have paid attention, noticed something useful, helped them find her. Over the years, I've heard lots of stories about incredible kids. Kids who beat the odds. A girl who survived on a raft for days after her whole family was murdered on a sailboat far out at sea. A boy who protected his younger siblings from a cougar by fending it off with a stick. 3 small children who climbed into a tree and waited out a tsunami, somehow managing to hang on while the only world they'd ever known rushed by, a chaos of water and destruction. Why couldn't I have been one of those kids? Why couldn't I have dug deep, found strength, risen to the occasion? You could have saved Sibby. You could have saved Sibby. You could have saved Sibby. Enough. I force myself to sit up. My shoulders slide out from underneath the pile of blankets, and the shock of crisp, cool air is good. It clears my vision and braces me enough to stand and get out of bed. I slide into my slippers and grab a blanket from the pile, pulling it up around my shoulders. Our house is old, big and drafty. It costs a fortune to heat, as my parents never fail to remind me, so the thermostat is always down low. Because my room is up at the very top, hidden under the eaves in the attic, it's the coldest room of all. But that's a small price to pay for the privacy. Not to mention the view. My desk sits in the gable at the front of the house, facing a large half-moon window that looks down over the town. I drop into the desk chair, yawning and pulling the blanket tight around me. Far in the distance, I see lights skimming past us on the highway, a rushing river of cars and trucks and buses that could easily sweep someone away, in any direction.